I've been trying to do Susie Wiles for a minute. What up, y'all? What up, YouTube? What's going on? Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Shout out to my new subscribers. I really appreciate you. Damn, I forgot to take my medicine. Let me grab something. Let me grab something. Oh. All right, who is Susie Wiles? I forgot to take my medicine. I gotta get it. She is one of the most powerful women in the world. She is Trump's chief of staff. 5 things you need to know about her. She is the most powerful woman in Washington. But many people in this town are just learning who she is. She's a veteran of Florida politics. Wiles rose from Donald Trump's 2016 Florida campaign director to senior advisor in his 2024 bid. She ran his whole campaign. She ran the hell out of it. She credited with running a disciplined, professionalized campaign operation that helped Trump secure a sweeping electoral college victory and a popular vote win as well. Oh, here we go. In a statement, Trump said Wiles is tough, smart, innovative, and is universally admired and respected. But she's still a Washington outsider, which is a good thing. With little experience in federal government, which would be a challenge as she takes on one of the most demanding and complex governing staff jobs anywhere. While 67 rarely speaks publicly, at Trump's victory speech, she almost seemed to recoil at the candidate's invitation to say a few words, believing that an understated behind the scenes presence can be effective. Wiles is a fixture in Florida politics for decades before helping both Trump and Ron DeSantis win winning campaigns. She is credited with saving DeSantis' struggling 2018 campaign for governor when he was a low-profile congressman. Wiles later split with DeSantis, prompting the Florida governor to convince the Trump team to hire her. No, to convince the Trump team to fire her ahead of his 2020 campaign. Wiles didn't let the slight go. She used her up close knowledge of DeSantis to dismantle him when he ran against Trump. Wow. I never knew that. In the GOP presidential primary this year, Wiles rarely posts on social media, but she did just the day DeSantis ended his presidential bid, writing bye bye in her X account. Before Trump, Wiles worked on local and national campaigns for decades. I never knew that. She's worked in the private sector, lobbying both for Ballard Partners and Mercury. Early in her career, she served as chief of staff to the mayor of Jacksonville, and she held low-level roles of working for members of Congress and Department of Labor. In addition to working for Representative Jack Kemp in New York, Wiles was a scheduler for former President Ronald Reagan. Well, I never knew that, and worked in Reagan's Labor Department. Since then, she has worked for Republicans off the ideological spectrum. She was the Deputy Director of Operations for Vice President Bush Quayle ticket in '88, and Wiles was co-chair of Romney's Florida Advisory Council during his 2012 presidential bid. She also ran Scott's 2010 campaign for Florida governor and briefly managed former Utah Governor John Huntsville's 2012 campaign. Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, once Trump's chief rival for GOP presidential nomination, called Wiles a great choice for chief of staff. When she joined Trump's 2016 bid for the White House as co-chairman for Florida, Wiles encountered skepticism from some fellow Republican operatives, but she explained to Tampa Bay Times at the time she felt none of the other Republicans running for the White House represented the kind of change she felt Washington needed. I said, I don't want this to continue. I think it seriously would damage our republic, and who among the group can really have the fortitude to shift what I've seen happening over all these years? Wiles also learned early on to brush aside some of Trump's more boorish traits and inflammatory rhetoric. I will tell you this, the Donald Trump that I've come to know does not behave that way. And lens that I look at him though, I don't see any of that. I see strengths, I see smarts, I see a work ethic that's unprepared. You ain't lied, the man don't sleep. That man put in the work. She told the Tampa Bay Times in 2016, I blanch sometimes, but again, it's not the Donald Trump that I've come to know. Trump's 2016 campaign, his White House, and his losing 2020 campaign has something in common. They were a dysfunctional mess characterized by excessive infighting, backstabbing, leaking, and a cast of controversial characters who generated headlines for all the wrong reasons. Then Wales entered the picture after Trump hit a political low in 2021, having lost not just re-election but the support of some Republicans after the January 6th. Since then, Trump's third bid of office has been described by campaign pros on both sides of the aisle a particularly professional operation, and Wiles has even had success reining in Trump, stepping in at times to get him back on message or to see why some of his decisions could be tremendous political liabilities. She has encouraged Trump to tone down his rhetoric about losing the 2020 election and to urge his supporters to vote by mail. Wiles just has a master ability to mash on multiple things of significance simultaneously. She has lobbied for a tobacco company, Swisher International. Wiles is the leader of lobbying giant for Mercury, SpaceX, AT&T, and Qatar, the Embassy of Qatar. Wow. Wiles, who has been with Trump's most recent campaign since 2022, lobbied Congress on FDA regulations between 2023 and 2024. She got a lot of influence. Mercury has paid $120,000 for its work for Swisher during that time. Mercury CEO Karen Mahoney congratulated Wiles on her selection. This is great news for the country. Susie has been a valued colleague. We are all proud of her and wish her the best. She is the daughter of legendary sportscaster Pat Summerall. Wow. Summerall, her dad, was an alcoholic, credited Wiles with his decision to get sober and to the Betty Ford Clinic for treatment. In his memoir, he wrote, I haven't been there much for my kids, but Susie's letter made it clear that I hurt them even in my absence. When he died in Dallas in 2013, Wiles described her father as an extraordinary man and a wonderful father. One of Wiles' colleagues also noted she's related to Commodore Matthew Perry, the U.S. naval officer who headed an expedition to Japan in 1850s, credited with breaking down the country's isolationism and opening up trade and diplomatic relations with the West. Dang, I ain't know that about Susie. What up, Susie? And here we go.
Susie likes to stay sort of in the back, let me tell you. The Ice Maiden. We call her the Ice Maiden.
Donald Trump has made campaign co-chair Susie Wiles his incoming White House Chief of Staff. This makes Wiles the first woman to step into the powerful role. So who is she? Wiles has been in politics since the 1970s. But with this role, she moves from being largely behind the scenes to the president's closest advisor and counsel. Wiles had stints in Ronald Reagan's campaign, but most of her experience was in Florida. For example, she's credited with helping businessman Rick Scott win the governor's office. Wiles ran Trump's 2016 effort in Florida, and his win in the state helped him clinch the White House. She's also been able to control some of Trump's impulses, not by scolding him, but by showing him that he could benefit from her advice. Trump has often referred to Wiles on the campaign trail, saying she's, quote, incredible. But given Trump had 4 chiefs of staff in his first term, it remains to be seen how long she stays in the role.
She one of the most powerful. Wow. And she keep Trump together. She keep him together, okay? This is gonna be a short video for a change.
Jessica Clark, thank you. You saw their mugshots earlier behind us. Well, she broke barriers in Jacksonville, and now she's breaking barriers in Washington, D.C. Ponte Vedra's Susie Wiles was named White House Chief of Staff for the new Trump administration, and she is the first woman in history to be named White House Chief of Staff.
Rich Donnelly is on your side tonight. He's at
Watch
City
that
Hall in
other
downtown
video.
Jackson
Tell me
with a
what
look
you
at
think
how
of the
Wiles
information
and
I
Northeast Florida
shared.
could have an influence on the entire country right now, Rich.
You gotta watch the whole thing.
Yeah, this is where she broke her first barrier in 1995. Susie Wiles was hired by Mayor John Delaney to be his first chief of staff, the first time a woman held that role. She continued to make an impact on Jacksonville, and some people who know her best say that she's going to make an impact on the nation.
Let me also express my tremendous appreciation for Susie and Chris, the job you did.
During his acceptance speech, President-elect Donald Trump tried to bring Susie Wiles into the spotlight.
Susie likes to stay sort of in the back, let me tell you. The Ice Maiden. We call her the Ice Maiden.
Very steady, very stoic in a good way.
Wiles worked with every Republican mayor in Jacksonville since 1995 and was a consultant for former Mayor Lenny Curry in 2015.
Chief of Staff, President of the United States, powerful job. One of the most powerful jobs in the world. It's surreal to me that somebody that I know from Jacksonville, from this area, that I've known for years, that is a friend, is going to be in that job.
New York Post writer A.G. Gankarski believes Wiles will have her fingerprints on the direction of the second Trump administration.
She's going to be a massive influence on this administration because Donald Trump trusted her throughout the campaign process. Susie Wiles is a power broker. She can actually do a lot of things for the city.
Wiles is also credited with being a major factor in the implementation of the half-penny sales tax to fund the Better Jacksonville plan in 2000.
She shaped a lot of policy, and she shaped policy going forward even after she was out of office.
She helped get Ron DeSantis elected, Rick Scott elected. Not just helped, was like top of the campaigns. And now here we are, after all that years of work, major fingerprint on Jacksonville, major signature on our city.
Susie Wiles isn't the only person with ties to Jacksonville politics who might be involved with the new presidential administration. Brian Hughes was also part of Lenny Curry's mayoral administration here in Jacksonville. He was also a senior advisor on the Trump presidential campaign staff. Reporting live in downtown Jacksonville, Rich Donnelly, First Coast News, on your side.
Rich, thank you. New advice, the Justice Department has revealed it stopped a plan to kill President-elect Donald Trump before this week's election. An Iranian military official hired a man named Farjid Sakira.
This has been a pretty smooth presidency, but one little hiccup was Elon.
Yeah. Little hiccup?
Little hiccup, yeah. I mean, I saw Elon Musk here, very comfortable coming in and out of the Oval Office, had sleepovers in the Lincoln bedroom. It seemed almost as if he had a sort of fatherly fixation with Donald Trump that I guess inevitably was going to blow up at some point. How did you see that relationship?
Similar. The president was very, very kind to him. And Elon had so much to offer us. He knew things we didn't know. He knew people and technologies that we didn't know. It was It was a great thing when it was a great thing, and I had I think, a very troublesome ending.
Why do you think that happened?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I don't know. I know that what has been said doesn't ring accurate to me, but I don't know. I enjoyed working with Elon. I think he's a fascinating person and sees the world differently. And I think that's probably what the president saw too, just a little bit different than the average Joe. But certainly came to not a good ending.
Oh shoot. Last video of Susie Wiles. I hope y'all check this out.
The way the 2020 election went and did whatever, he had 4 years to think about exactly what he wanted to do when he got back here, and was ready to begin on the first day, and has never stopped since. As you probably know as well as anybody, he never stops working. And so when you combine a work ethic that's unparalleled with a wish list that's very long and an appetite for success for the American people, this is what you get.
Yeah, hit the ground running. And but I guess we see that Donald Trump works in Trump speed, warp speed. But that also means that the people who work for him do the same. Do you ever find it hard keeping up?
I don't know of another mortal who could really keep up.
Right.
I work as hard as I can, and I think I do fine, or at least if I don't, he hasn't told me that yet. But it is superhuman pace. There's no question. And if you look around at the staff, they're all young but me. So there's a reason for that.
Yeah. And what actually does a chief of staff do?
Oh boy. I gave a piece of advice to myself when I started this job. I am the chief of staff. I'm not the chief of Donald Trump. And if I keep remembering that, then I know to facilitate what he needs and wants to be the president of the United States, leader of the free world. We assemble, I think, the best staff that's ever worked in a White House, bar none.
Facts.
I am in charge of all the administrative stuff that nobody would want to be in charge of, and also the big picture that I do want to be in charge of. And it's a jack of all trades in some ways. In government, and particularly in the White House, the chief of staff is fairly prescribed. There is a responsibility for the military office, responsibility for the continuity of government, all that sort of thing that I didn't know I would be handling when I got here, because it is different than the campaign in that regard. But I have a long background in local and state government, and so it's not a complete shock, but the protocol that's associated with the West Wing is beyond anything I really expected.
And what do you mean by that? What do you mean protocol? You mean rules?
Rules, I mean, it's protocol, not law.
Yeah.
But things have been done a certain way here for a very long time. And you can do some things differently, and I do, but you can't upset the whole apple cart at once. And also, these protocols are here for a reason. It does make the machine work more easily.
Yeah.
And people already understand how things are supposed to be. So, in many ways, it's good. In fact, in virtually all ways, it's good. But it was something for me to get used to.
Yeah. And you said you're involved in the big picture. What does that mean? I mean, are you? I heard that you helped negotiate the release of some hostages. At one point, you had dinner with the president of ABC News a few days before that George Stephanopoulos settlement happened. Is that the sort of thing you're talking about?
I didn't negotiate any hostages release. I am a cheerleader for it.
Yes.
But that's a Steve Witkoff.
Right.
That's a Steve Witkoff amazing achievement.
Yeah.
I do get to do really amazing things and meet people that I would not meet in any other walk of life. And I hope to, when I do that, I hope to bring the sensibilities of this administration, why he ran, what he's doing, and how quickly, to every executive, or in this case, the head of a network that I meet. It's our job to broaden as best we can his message and his views everywhere we can do it, and oftentimes that, in my case, includes political people, but it also includes CEOs and that sort of thing. So it's a real joy to be able to do that.
And what about your relationship with Donald Trump? Tell us about the first time you met him. I think it was 2015 in Trump Tower in New York.
A mutual friend arranged a meeting because I looked around at the field of then 17 Republican primary candidates and said, I've been a traditional Republican all my life, and I thought, this is just not working, not for the American people. We need a disruptor here. We need somebody that thinks about how to serve the American people differently. And I looked at the disruptors, and he was the one that I had the most interest in.
Wow.
My dad had a passing friendship with him, so I heard about him a bit. And of course, you can't be raised in the New York area and not know who Donald Trump is.
Yeah.
And we had a great meeting, and he wanted to pick my brain about Florida politics. We shook hands, and he said, "Thank you very much," and I left. And I didn't hear anything for quite a bit. And then when he got ready to announce his leadership team in Florida, he called and said, "Will you be a part of this?" And so that was my, I was the co-chairman of the state, not working then, but as time went on, Florida needed a little bit of a boost. And so then I went from sitting in the VIP section of the rallies to knocking on doors.
Oh, wow.
and we did well. We did very well.
Yes, you did. That's amazing. So you actually perceived MAGA before most Americans did, and certainly most Republicans did. You perceived that Donald Trump had what he is now, to be this transformational president.
I did. I didn't know MAGA as what we know. I just knew that what we've been doing for all these many years was not working for the country, and certainly not for middle America. And after talking to this billionaire, who I didn't really go into the meeting thinking would have his finger on the vein of the middle class, I realized he did, and then that decision was easy after that.
Because you had worked for Ronald Reagan previously, and Jack Kemp, but you actually worked in the White House when you were a young woman. So you'd seen a lot of Republican politics.
I had. I took a little bit more than a decade off of it. And then when my children were little, I stayed home because I couldn't go jetting off to Washington. We lived in Ponte Vedra, Florida. And then when they were grown and out of the house, it was kind of 2015 and even before that. And so I thought it was time to leave home. So I did it all in reverse. Most people start at the local level, and then they move to the state level, and then if they're fortunate, they get a job at the federal level. I did it in reverse.
Right.
And now I'm back.
I just wanted to pick up on what you said about staying at home with the children, because I think that's something that's very important, especially to young women when they look at successful women who've had an amazing career, that you've also been a mother, now a grandmother. I know your girls speak very highly of your motherly skills, but you did sort of ratchet down your career for a period.
I did.
But that wasn't the end.
I don't recommend it.
Oh, really?
Because re-entry is hard.
Right.
I had a really specific skill, so it wasn't as difficult for me as it would have been maybe for others. But I did take 11 years pretty much out of this business. And so getting back into it, I didn't know whether I could or whether this career had passed me by. And it hadn't, but it's not the easiest thing to do.
No, I did this too, though.
Did you?
I feel it's a good template for young women.
Good.
Have their children young and
Yep.
then come back into the careers and blossom.
And when they're older, teenagers into it, mine are well adults.
Yeah.
They have a different perspective of what mom does and why mom does it, and hopefully they're proud of us.
Yes.
Which they wouldn't have had as a 5-year-old.
No.
So it's very different to do what we did.
Yeah.
But looks like it's worked for both of us.
Yes, that's right. And do you feel that you've got a lot of young women who work for you, who are young parents, not children? Do you make accommodations for that?
You can't be your best at work if you're worried about your children, worried about your daycare, worried about whether
Facts.
you're
You
sick
sure
every
can.
day. So I live that. I understand that, and I want these women involved.
Yeah.
So hopefully, we make it as comfortable as the White House can be for young moms, young parents, young dads too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Carolyn Levitt comes to mind.
Perfect
She's
example.
amazing. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I know that people have said, Joy Behar, for instance, has said, "Oh, Donald Trump, he can't stand strong women," and you know, what do you say to that? Considering your
I
role?
never tweet. I have like virtually no social media, but that called me. It was actually Mark Cuban that said it.
Oh, right.
And I said, wait. Linda McMahon, Brooke Rollins, I forget all the strong women around Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Starting with Melania Trump
Yes.
and Ivanka Trump.
Yeah.
It's an urban myth that could not be more wrong.
Why do you think people get Donald Trump so wrong? I mean, you work with him. I'm sure you wouldn't do that if you didn't respect him and like him.
Mm-hmm.
So why is he so misunderstood?
Change is hard for people. A disruptor is hard for people. We expect things to go a certain way, certain decorum,
That's a
certain
fact.
way to be. We have a view of our president that was rooted maybe in the 50s and 60s. And Donald Trump's gift, in my view, is the thing that makes people uncomfortable sometimes, which is that he says what so many people think, but never
Facts.
had the nerve
Yes.
to say it. And that is how he reaches Americans, well, the world, but certainly Americans. And yet it's different than the prescribed protocol of how a president should talk. He just says what's on his mind, and people say, yeah, I think that too. So it's different, but it's working. He's in his second term, and as we started this interview, he has done more in 6 months than many administrations, certainly the last one, did in 4 years.
Facts.
And he calls you the Ice Maiden. He's also said you're rough and tough. That's not.
What do you think? I don't think so.
It's not the image that you project, but I don't think you could do this job and get to where you are without having a bit of true grit.
I do, but it's not my preferred way to be. If you cannot get what you want with respect and logic, then sometimes you have to be a little tougher. I don't have to do that very much here. Everyone here is so devoted to what we're trying to do. I don't have to be tough very much, which is sort of a gift to me.
Right, yeah. When was the last time you had to be tough?
This morning.
Oh, really? What happened?
But not very often.
Oh.
The cabinet they each have what in other places would be a government or a company or whatever to manage.
Yeah.
And this cabinet is unparalleled. In
It
its
is.
diversity,
He got a
its
great cabinet.
strength and its understanding of its
He
issues,
got a
great person by person.
great
And
cabinet.
that breeds some independence sometimes that you have to pull back on.
Oh, that's good. So you sort of do that so that Donald Trump doesn't have to do it.
Right.
Right, and
Right.
so that everything seems smooth to him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had 4 chiefs of staff in his first term. Does that ever give you pause, or do you just think they were the wrong people?
I don't know. I don't think I wasn't here, so
Yeah.
I don't really think too much about the first term. I've been here since February of 2021, so I've seen this evolution and tried to adapt here to meet who he is now.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened before. I know they came here with very little Washington experience, and I think in some cases very little understanding of Donald Trump the man. We work on that very hard here to make sure what we do can adapt to the way he wants to do it.
Right.
And so far, so good.
As everything has to be done quickly and
Quickly, thoroughly,
Right.
And by quickly I mean before you leave the office, and thoroughly, and with a light touch whenever possible,
Yeah.
despite what might be said out there. He's a kind, understanding, warm person, and he does not prefer to be as strong as he sometimes is forced to be. So that expectation goes to us too. If we can get it done immediately and nicely, that's always going to be the preferred route.
Right. And as a boss, what's he like? You must spend hours with him every day.
And people ask me, what's it like? What's hard about your job? Here's what's not hard about my job: Donald Trump.
Right.
He is predictable and open and approachable and honest and honorable and committed and all of those things, which does not mean he can't be irritated or frustrated. But I view my job as trying to keep as much of that away from him so that he can think clearly about the big picture. We'll take care of the back office, if you will.
Interesting. What a great way to be. And what's been like? How do you handle him when he is irritated or angry?
Well, I've never found him to be irritated or angry for no reason.
Right.
So solving the underlying problem is where I focus. He'll be angry. He'll say so. But again, at the end of the day, what he wants from me is to fix whatever made him angry. So I try to go to the root cause and do it that way.
Yeah, good idea. And does he have any annoying habits?
He's known to be tardy. And so the day gets out of control pretty quickly. But no, he is what you see is what you get.
Facts.
And that's a blessing for a staff member. Because then I don't wonder when I come in on Monday, what's it going to be like? I know what it's going to be like. It's going to be breakneck speed to get as much done as fast as possible for the people that need it and matter. And that's really what we do here every day, all day, 7 days a week, by the way.
Right, yes. And so you're sort of creating order out of a natural chaos.
There is a natural chaos, and he prefers it. He prefers as many inputs on any given topic as he can possibly get, and I prefer that for him. It makes for better decisions. But at a certain point, you've got to rein it all in, and he's got to make a decision, and he does, and then we execute.
And he seems very tidy. His desk is always tidy. He seems to like order.
Very tidy. He's a collector of paper, but we have a great system to make sure we comply with all the records requirements here. But he reads a voracious reader. Reputation is different, but I can tell you, a voracious reader. How many times have you gotten notes from him, Miranda, when he read something?
100%. He reads the New York Post cover.
Yes, he does. And the Wall Street Journal, and the New York Times,
right.
And sometimes the Washington Post. And anything else that comes his way, Financial Times and all of the periodicals. If you read the day's newspaper, the day's news, you can almost predict what the day is going to bring. And that is on top of whatever was supposed to be going on that day too. So I feel like I play catch up all day, every day. But the progress that he's making is so enormous. I mean, it's worth it. It is worth whatever we have to do to get him to a place where he can achieve what he's achieved in 6 short months.
And I guess his being on top of what's current in the news means that he's more adaptable with whatever policies he has or how he messages them.
Yeah, and he's always been sort of a TV guy, but now he's truthing and tweeting and being on podcasts. He's a very adaptable communicator, and in these times, you don't just, it's all due respect to CBS, you don't turn on CBS and watch Walter Cronkite and you're done.
Yeah.
It is all day, every day, in every mode that's available. And frankly, that was a big key of success in the campaign.
It was.
In every way somebody could receive his message. And it's still like that now.
And you were there, I mean, in his really dark days.
I was.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously he must appreciate the loyalty because a lot of people didn't stick with him then. Why did you do that?
I believe fundamentally, thoroughly, completely in what he believes.
Yeah.
And I believed he could and would come back. I believed he would overcome everything that was thrown at him, which was everything.
Yeah.
And then when we got to an actual formal campaign, all the campaign activities. We had a great team. I had great partners, um, but it's pretty prescriptive. You know, you figure out what your policy is. You talk about them everywhere you can. In his case, you have rallies of tens of thousands, in some cases hundreds of thousands
In
of
between
people.
courtroom appearances.
You know,
Yeah.
that was a bad couple of months.
Yeah.
But he managed.
Yeah.
He
Did you
managed
ever
through
see
it.
him down?
Never. Never. In the dark days when truly they were persecuting him, he put a suit on and a tie on and came to the office and worked all day, every day.
Right. And now, during this period, you had worked for Ron DeSantis, and then there was quite a nasty falling out, which I only realized recently they were very nasty to you and tried to really destroy your career. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. But it's in my rearview mirror.
Yeah.
And I think he's governing Florida, which is my home state. He's a good governor. And
He is.
whatever personal differences he had or whatever deficiencies he thought I had are long past my thinking about them.
And what went wrong with his campaign? I mean, he seemed to start off with so much promise, and then don't
Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, hit that like button. Powerful woman, Susie.